at uiradionetwork.org. Catch us on Facebook and Instagram at United Intentions and Twitter at Higher Intention. Look for us on 99.1 FM, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Stitcher, Blog Talk Radio, and many more. Over the next hour, we'll introduce you to some fascinating people and engaging discussions that may provide you with answers to assist in revolutionizing your own personal health. And now, here's Dr. Nelson.
This is the United Intentions Radio Network. I'm Dr. Nelson Bulmash, and you're listening to another edition of Health Matters. For all those of you listening to me here on WGJY FM 99.1 FM, thank you and welcome. For those of you joining us for those of you joining us in Florida on WWNN 93.5, it's a pleasure to have you with us as well. And for all others joining us on all the major social media platforms, including Facebook Live, hello and welcome. Thanks for joining the show. I have another great show for you today. Remember that we're going to be taking questions through Facebook Live and our call-in number, which is 678-495-4345. Once again, that's 678-495-4345. Before we get started, I have some talking points that I want to mention to you. 25 days to get your life back now is almost up. So visit www.getyourlifebacknow.live and take advantage of getting your DVD that can help save your life. The United Intentions Foundation is proud to be attending City Summit on July 10th and 11th. It's a one-of-a-kind networking event that helps charities succeed. Visit www.citysummit.com for more information. We've even heard that Mario Lopez will be the keynote speaker, so you don't want to miss this. And lastly, subscribe to our YouTube channel at United Intentions. Watch all of your favorite interviews right in one place, and don't forget to hit the bell on the top left corner to get notified when we upload a video. Okay, I want to introduce my amazing guest. She is, now I'm going to hold off and surprise you, actually. Let me read her bio first before I jump ahead. Lisa's been working with the health and fitness industry for over 25 years and is the founder of Lisa Lou Fitness, LLC, where she helps women online over 35 in the U.S. and Canada through fitness, nutrition, and a supportive community. Lisa holds a bachelor's degree in health and a master's in exercise science. She's a certified nutrition coach and a certified NASM personal trainer. She teaches a women's strength training program called Fit Chicks and Refit Dance fitness classes. She's currently pursuing her integrative women's health coach certification. Lisa has previously owned 2 gyms alongside her husband and got her start in the fitness industry in the early 90s as a producer and choreographer of a local fitness show. It's hard to believe she's that old. If you haven't guessed who she is, she's Lisa Arundel of Lisa Lou Fitness. Lisa, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us.
So much for having me, Nelson. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. This is sort of a deja vu moment since you and I did a show here just a few weeks ago.
Absolutely.
Yes. So let's jump on in, Lisa. I know you have a lot you want to cover, and I'm going to do everything I can to get as many of your questions asked as possible.
Awesome.
We'll also have some really great people asking us questions on Facebook Live, as you know, and that will be calling in. So one of the things that I like to do, Lisa, if you've listened to any of my shows, I always like to know how a successful person like you becomes so passionate, so driven to help people. What's your story? What got you into fitness, and what made you so successful and so committed at helping people?
Okay. So for me, it started with my own health issues. Growing up, I wasn't the healthiest person in the world. I was small, but I was inflamed. At the time, I didn't know the word inflamed.
Right.
I just always felt puffy. I would tell my mom, I just feel puffy all the time. And so I was little and I was a cheerleader, but I knew I didn't feel right. However, it became my norm. I was later diagnosed with PCOS, 2 congenital heart diseases,
Wow.
and Hashimoto's thyroiditis. So you just with a few of those different things, before I knew exactly what my health issues were, I just knew that I didn't feel well. However, it became my norm, and I just started thinking, this is just my life. When I did start understanding what was going on with my health, and then I started into the health field, my heart started to grow toward women specifically.
Right.
And the reason behind that is because I was hearing myself in them. I was hearing my joints ache, and I'm in my 20s. I was hearing I don't sleep. I was an insomniac. I was hearing I have brain fog. I was hearing I don't have the time and energy for my husband and my kids. I was so identifying with them that as I started understanding what I needed to do to fix my own health, which I found through better sleep, proper nutrition, the right kind of exercise at the right times, on and on, the more I realized that even if I was dealing with women who didn't necessarily have autoimmunity or some of those same issues that I had, some of the same answers could cross those borders and help them as well. And so I just, my heart is for the family, but I like to get to them through the woman. So I am called to the woman, and that's a big part of it because I get her.
Right.
I feel so much like I have been in so many of their shoes with those symptoms and the way that they feel so bad, but I've come out the other side. I'm still a work in progress, but I've made big strides. And so my goal is just to help them do the same thing.
What a fantastic story. Thank you for sharing that. And one of the things that I heard just now is that you, Lisa, actually take time and put the effort in to prioritize your own health and well-being.
Right.
I want to ask you a question. I'm a doctor, as you know, and one of the things that is so rampant in my practice with the women who see me is that very few of them prioritize their own health and well-being. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely, I do. Yeah.
So what do you do to help women learn to prioritize their own well-being?
So I think, first of all, it's understanding how I believe women are created. I think we are innately servants. I think we have this desire to give and to serve and to do for others. When we do that, though, and we lose sight of ourselves and we get further and further on that back burner, then it's just so easy to continue to say, you know what, I'll start focusing on me when the kids go back to school,
right,
or after Christmas,
yes,
or Monday that never comes, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's always in the future.
It's always in the future. And so what I try and help women understand is it any easier right now than it was a year ago or 5 years ago? The answer is almost always no. It's harder.
Yeah.
I'm busier. Yeah. I'm older. I'm tireder.
Yes. Yes.
No,
I get it.
More fatigue. So, yeah.
I love that. That's such a great answer. And I want you to know, on my end, as a man who also sees people as a doctor in my practice, I make sure that men know, hey, guys, listen, the times are too turbulent. Everybody's too busy. We can't rely on the women in our lives to carry all of the burden. It's time to get that burden yoke off of our daughters, or our sisters, our mothers, or grandmothers, and start sharing the load. Because, I don't want my wife, I don't want my female friends to be constantly so tired. They can't take care of themselves. They're no longer enjoying life. They don't enjoy being part of the family because, as many of the women tell me, for example, when the holidays come on board, they say, Nelson, I'm not excited about Thanksgiving, Christmas. Are you kidding me? I work harder than I work any other time of the year. And I thought, that's terrible. So maybe part of the message that we should share with everybody is that we as men start to take some of the load off and be better partners, helping to remove some of the burden from the women that share our lives.
That's definitely a great message. And, you hear the saying often, you can't give from an empty cup. And so I just, I want to help women to understand, to really be those servants that we want to be, to be there for our families, to be there for our friends, to be there for our loved ones. We have to prioritize our health, because if we don't, we're really giving from nothing, and we will eventually completely burn out.
It's funny, Lisa, the visual that I have always when I have this conversation is what do they tell you when you get on a plane and they're giving you the pre-flight instructions? If the mask ever drops down, who do you put it on first? Yourself. Yeah. So, all right, let's take a moment here. We established that women need to prioritize themselves if they don't already. They need to. You can't resume your health if you don't prioritize your own health and well-being. Lisa, somebody comes to you. How do you go about, and what do you do to get them started?
Okay. So I'm a firm believer that when it comes to our overall picture of health, nutrition is it's a huge, huge piece of the puzzle. So it's not as sexy as fitness
Right.
necessarily. We think fitness and we think get in there and get the muscles or get skinny or whatever it is. So nutrition is huge and it's a big player. However, I believe that sleep,
Yeah.
no matter what you are doing, no matter what your goals, you could have perfect nutrition, whatever that is. You can have perfect exercise, whatever that is for you. And if you are not getting rest at night, you are swimming upstream. You're not going to be getting the full effects of your workout. You're
Right.
not going to be getting the full effects of the good food that you're eating. It's going to affect your mood. It's going to affect your energy levels. So really, where to start, it's even less sexy, and that is getting sleep, fighting for your sleep, because that is,
Right.
if that foundation is not there, then everything you're building on top of that is really just kind of sitting on sinking sand. It's just shifting. It's
I
not,
love that. I love
not
it.
solid at all.
Lisa, talk to me a little bit, because people hear that, yes, I need to sleep, but it's one of those things that, like you said, it's not really sexy, but it is something that has to happen. Tell us a little bit, why is it so important that you have to make sure you get the proper amount of sleep, and give us, our listeners, an idea of what is the proper amount of sleep?
So I do believe that's individual. However, I'm one that really errs on the side of more. I know so many women who 5 and under is just 5 and less. It's just, that's common. That's their norm.
Wow.
And so when we start going through what their day looks like, what their hunger and their cravings look like, what their energy levels look like, we always have to circle back around to how many hours are you sleeping?
Yeah.
Because those other things really can't be supported without your body healing. That is your
Right.
body's time to heal emotionally, physically, mentally. You are in a healing state when you are getting that restful sleep at night.
Right.
So it's hugely important. And, laying a foundation of routine at night is also very important. So I don't know if you want to get into that now or later, but we can talk a little bit about some steps to helping women get to that point where they sleep, because I know it's easy to say, well, that's nice. I just don't sleep though, and I don't know what to do about it.
Well, we can touch upon it now. One of the things I really want to get across, Lisa, is, 5 hours, I get it, but you're 5 hours is going to put you on a path of chronic degenerative disease, cancer, autoimmunity, and all things bad with regard to mood stability. So let's take at least a minute. Let's do 2 things here, Lisa. Let's talk about kind of the baseline. What should people strive for, provided, of course, they can sleep, and then we'll talk about things to help them sleep better. So how many, what would be the minimum amount you would say somebody with a reasonably stressful, kind of a typical life of a woman here in this country, what would be a typical amount that you would say most women under typical stress should have? How many hours of sleep?
So I think 7 hours is the minimum. If you're a woman, you're stressed.
Yes.
If you're a man, you're stressed.
Yes.
I'm not minimizing men
No,
here.
of course,
but
of course.
as a woman, our roles are thick, they're heavy, they're full. So you take out any major stressor like the death of a loved one or divorce or anything like that, even separating all that out, just the normal stressors of our lives, plus our hormones, we need rest. And so 7 hours for me is really a baseline. If you add physical activity on top of that, and I deal with a lot of women who have very heavy physical activity, if you add extra stressors like those life circumstances that may not be everyday occurrences, but you're kind of stuck there right now, even the birth of a child, it's a wonderful thing, but oh my goodness, it's so stressful on the body.
Of course.
You're losing sleep, of course. So that 7 to 9 hours to me, 9 for so many women is like, you've got to be kidding me. Yet when they are able to achieve it, they feel like completely new people.
Yeah. You know what? I agree with you. Matter of fact, I'll say this real quickly and then we'll go to commercial break. I have elite athletes that I've trained where they'll look at me and say, Dr. Nelson, I can't function with the intensity of my workouts unless I get at least 9 to 10 hours of sleep. So, and of course, their whole lives revolve around their training. So it's a different situation. But Lisa, listen, we're going to take a commercial break here. I'm Dr. Nelson Bulmash. You're listening to Health Matters. My guest is Lisa of Lisa Lou Fitness. We're going to be right back, and we're going to be talking about how you can help yourself get more and better sleep.
The United Intentions Foundation is proud to announce the City Gala's City Summit on July 10th and 11th. It's a world-class, socially conscious business acceleration experience headed by Ryan Long, founder of City Gala. We'll be in attendance sharing our story and helping others manifest their intentions, and yours too. This is your invitation to come to City Summit for free. Keynote speakers such as Ashton Kutcher, Halle Berry, and Matthew McConaughey have been involved with City Summit to elevate attendees' business acumen through knowledge, motivation, and personal insights. This is your chance to mingle with high-level individuals who care about making a difference in the world and want to see you succeed. So if you're in the Southern California area or would like to fly there, simply visit www.citysummit.co for more information. We hope to see you there.
Welcome back. This is Dr. Nelson Bulmish, and you're listening to Health Matters. I have my friend and guest, Lisa Arundel of Lisa Lou Fitness, and we're talking about getting better sleep. Lisa, what are some of the things that you recommend to help women sleep better?
They have a routine, and so they mentally know what to prepare for, and they physically start to know what to prepare for after a period of time,
right.
And it becomes habit. As we get older, we drop that as if that's only for children. And I think it is even more important as we get older to establish that routine. So things as simple as, I know baths, not many people take baths anymore. Everybody's jumping in the shower because they're so busy. Yep. But getting a nice warm bath with some Epsom salt, that magnesium in there can really help to relax you. Some lavender essential oils, maybe. If you want to light a candle, I'm petrified of candles, so I prefer just to forgetful for candles, right. But something calming, some calming music. The blue light, my girls know I preach this all the time, but that bright light from our phones and our screens right before we go to bed, it's telling our brains, hey, it's time to wake up. It's time to get going.
Yes.
And so we can't have that right here near our eyes and expect to just fall out asleep.
Yeah.
So those are just a few of the things that if we can put those into practice and we can be consistent with them, a consistent bedtime and an earlier bedtime also really, really key. The sun comes up in the morning telling us to wake up. It goes down at night telling us to go to sleep.
Yeah,
so
right.
It doesn't mean you have to go to sleep when the sun goes down, but it's a good idea to not push it 3-4 hours past that time and then expect to feel great the next day.
Excellent. One of the things, I want to add a couple things too, if I may, Lisa. One of the things I tell people is, I love the idea that you said create a ritual. And I tell my patients the same thing, create a ritual. You might do soothing teas. For example, chamomile is very, very soothing. I tell people, my wife and I have certain rules of engagement, I like to call them, meaning once we go upstairs, there is nothing controversial brought to our attention. We do not talk about any hot topics in the bedroom. The bedroom is a place for intimacy and for sleeping well. So those are some of the things that, we just do not break those rules of engagement. So anytime we go upstairs, we know that we're there to relax and to enjoy each other and to rest peacefully. So I think those are some important things too. So let's talk about eating. How important is eating well? I'm laughing because, of course, it's a silly question, but there's still so many people, Lisa, who just really don't get the importance of eating well.
Yeah.
Talk to us about it.
Okay, so circling back to what we were talking about a moment ago, I do believe that your nutrition in your overall health picture is up there, maybe close to 70, 80 or more percent. So I think nutrition isn't the place a lot of people want to start, but a few reasons why it's a good place to put on the front burner. Number one, when you are eating right, and I know that's a broad phrase, but when you are eating anti-inflammatory foods, you're reducing inflammation in the body. Yeah. Reducing inflammation in the body is going to aid in better sleep. It's going to aid in better digestion. It's going to aid in better mood. It's going to aid in fat loss. So there are so many benefits that come from food. And there's so many things in our lives we don't maybe have control over. We don't have control over our genetics.
Yes.
but we have control over what goes in our mouth.
And how our genetics are expressed through what goes in our mouth. Yes.
Very
Excellent,
good. That's
excellent
right.
point.
We can either expound it or we can maybe suppress it some, right?
Yes.
So if we can focus on the things that we can control, then we're just going to be so much further ahead in our health. So to me, nutrition is just one of those very, very key foundational things that you really need to get in place if you're looking to be healthier, have more energy, have better mood, have better sleep, etc.
I got an amazing text a few years ago, Lisa, just after my daughter won one of her world titles in powerlifting. A friend of mine who's Sabutai Musashi called, and he texted me this message. He said, "Nelson, champions are made when no one is looking." So you're right. It may not be sexy, but the foundation, in other words, is paved when no one is looking, and you've got to pay attention to those details, as we mentioned, sleep and eating correctly. All right, I think we have a call coming in here. Is that correct, folks? All right. So I picked it up, and hello, this is Dr. Nelson Bulmesh of Health Matters. Who's this?
Hello, this is Susan.
Hi, Susan. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I just wanted to ask your guest today if she could go back in time and talk to her 18 or 20-year-old self. What advice would she give someone that age to ensure really great health as they mature into their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond?
That's a really great question, Susan. Thank you so much for that. What do you have to say, Lisa?
So I couldn't hear the question. Could you repeat it?
Oh, goodness.
I cannot hear Susan.
Okay, Susan, are you?
Can you hear me now?
Lisa, can you hear her now? Okay.
I cannot.
So here's the it was a very good question. Let me repeat it. The question is, if you could go back, Lisa, and talk to yourself, if you could meet yourself at about 18 or 20, are there some things that you would change, or are there some certain things that you would tell yourself as an 18 or 20-year-old, do this or don't do that, so that you could lead a better life, to be more fit, to be more healthy, and to have greater well-being?
Wow, that is a great question. I don't think a lot of us wouldn't go back and want to smack our 18-year-old selves just a little bit. So yeah, absolutely. I was just coming into fitness. That was my very first love. I was just coming into fitness around 17, 18 years old. So that's all I knew about. That's really all I cared about at the time, was the aesthetics, and being young, you do have a higher metabolism. So food, it didn't matter.
Yes.
However, when I did find out I had hypoglycemia, probably 5 years after that, everything prior to that started making sense. The fact that I had to eat every single 2 hours, the fact that I would have huge crashes, the fact that my friends would always make sure I had snacks and protein bars and something at all times so that I didn't go into a hypoglycemic fit.
Yeah.
So yes, if I could go back and talk to myself, I'd say, sister, focus a little bit more on what's going in your mouth than maybe even the fitness aspect of things. Yeah. If we and let me just detour from here real quick, because Susan brings up such a good point. With my younger self, it makes me think of my children, right? And so many women out there listening have children. What we are feeding our kids is building a foundation for them. It's building a foundation for their future.
Excellent point. Excellent.
Yes, kids have high metabolisms. Yes, kids can get away with some things that as we get older that we can't. However, what goes into their body right now is paving the way to how they're going to respond to food emotionally, physically, what they're going to pass on to their own kids. So it's a very weighty thing to be a parent, right? Because as moms,
responsibility.
So much responsibility. As moms and dads, we want to give them the best. We want to do the very best for them that we can. But sometimes we think, well, I'm going to get healthy. I'm going to cook this way for me, and I'm going to cook this way for the kids and maybe the husband too, right? But boy, those kids, it's so important. So I didn't have that growing up necessarily. My mom just didn't know about those things.
Right.
So I didn't have that. So it's so important for me to teach that to my kids. And I would hope that any woman listening would start thinking, yes, my kids really do need to be getting better nutrition so that I can help set up a better foundation for their future.
Excellent. Excellent. Susan, thank you so much. I really appreciate your question. It was excellent.
Yeah, that was good.
You're welcome.
And thank you for that wonderful response.
Have a great day. So I have to ask you this, and by the way, I want to come clean with you, Lisa. One of my pet peeves is I have friends who put the best food that you can purchase in their bodies, and yet they allow their kids to eat junky mac and cheese and GMO foods, and you get the picture.
Yeah.
Here's the next question, Lisa. What do you do if you have a woman who comes to you for help? And she looks at you and she says, Lisa, I don't know what to do. I can't get my family on board. Because you and I both know that families who get healthy together tend to have much more functional, enjoyable, healthy, productive lives together. How do you handle that?
That's so good. That is a really, really common issue. So if she has a husband in the household, that's where I like to begin. And I think our approach to our husbands is really, really key. Sometimes we get real dogmatic about something and we say, hey, we're going to change the way we're eating. Everything's getting thrown out. And this is what we're doing from here on. Nobody likes to be told what to do.
Right.
Nobody likes that. And so then when we sense resistance, maybe from our husbands, it's like, well, they're not supportive of me. So where I like to help a woman begin with her husband is if maybe you can approach him. Typically, men like to help a damsel in distress. So if you can approach him and say, I need your help. I want to get healthy. I can't do it without you. I need your help. I need you to partner with me. Will you help me? You know, those Oreos that we keep in the pantry, that's my Achilles heel. I really kind of need them to be out of here. Are you cool with that? Can you work with me? There's just a different approach there. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I know there's a million different temperaments and personalities out there.
Right.
But many times that can just be a little more easily digested than this is what we're doing.
That's fantastic. What a great point, because you're eliminating the confrontation and you're saying, hey, I want to be a partner with you. I want to do this with you. I can't do it by myself. Will you help me? Can we do this together? That's just brilliant. That's brilliant. Thank you for that. That answer alone was probably worth the entire admission to the show.
Go. I'm out. Bye.
I'm going to keep you here for just a little bit longer. I know that you actually have to buzz off in a little while and teach another class, but we still have. I have you snagged for about another half an hour here, Lisa.
That's great. I'm excited. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, Lisa. I know how much you love exercise. Let's talk exercise, and specifically, let's look at, Lisa. What are some of your favorite exercises to help bring women back who maybe are sitting there depressed or anxious, who are looking at themselves in the mirror in the morning as they get ready for work, and because I've had this conversation with so many women, and they say, I'm too far gone to even begin. Where do you begin from an exercise perspective with these women, getting them to succeed so they don't just show up and there's no way I can't do this. I'm done. How do you deal with that? Where do you start with that with a woman?
Okay. So this is a little bit of a loaded question, because what would be great is if I could check a box and say, this is the exercise for every woman.
Yes.
But it's just not, I don't have that. What I have is kind of a three-step process. First of all, where is she in life? Where is her stress level? Okay. If she is completely maxed out, if she's not sleeping, if she's dealing with taking care of her elderly mother, high intensity interval training may not be for her. I am a fan of high intensity interval training. I put out videos about high intensity interval training. I love it. However, it's not for every woman at every stage of her life.
Got it.
So for that woman, I would say something a little bit more gentle, something like yoga, walking. I'm a big fan of walking because, we can all pretty much get out and walk. Yes. So that is, it really kind of depends on where she is. So that's where I would start. For someone who is healthy, maybe not overly taxed with tons of extra stress, I do love high intensity interval training in short amounts. I love that 10 to 15, even 20 minutes, but I'm even closer to the 10-minute, because if you're doing it right and you're hitting it hard, you're getting what you need without adding all that undue stress from going for so long. Then my third response would be doing an activity that you love, that you know that you can do for a long time. So I teach a format called Refit Dance Fitness. And what I love about Refit is it's very, very community oriented. So it is an hour of dancing. There's toning and balancing elements as well. So you can come in with 2 left feet and still do great.
Right.
But there's very much a relationship and a community involved. And what I notice is that when women come in, and maybe they've been in a sense of loneliness or isolation, they gravitate toward our group because it's more than just come in, exercise, and leave. So if you can find something that you love, that you can do as like a lifetime sport, that is also so excellent. So you're getting that support, which is another thing that I feel is foundational.
Yes, agreed.
You get that support, you get that community, but then you're also doing something that just brings you so much joy as well.
Excellent. Lisa, it makes so much sense. Listen, Lisa, we're going to take a quick break here. This is Lisa Ardendale of Lisa Lou Fitness. I'm Dr. Nelson Bulmash. You're listening to Health Matters. We're going to come back in a moment, and we're going to continue talking about exercise strategies to get you started if you're no longer started with an exercise routine.
Well, hello, everyone. I am Gloria Parker, the Psychic Bartender. You know, I use that title honestly because I was the first female bartender in Atlanta back in the 60s, and I stayed in that profession for over 33 years. You know, numerology is the foundation of the universe, and everything is embedded in numbers. So call me any Thursday from 4 to 5 p.m. Just call in at 678-495-4345. Listeners, of course, are always welcome by tuning into United Intentions, WDJY 99.1 FM. So what a really great way to get some firsthand information from your psychic bartender and learn something new about you on your drive home from work, or just call in from anywhere. So you can reach me and you can listen to me on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and many other stations. Or you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as United Intentions, or on Twitter as Higher Intention.
Hello again, Dr. Nelson Bulmash here. You're listening to Health Matters. My guest, Lisa of Lisa Lou Fitness. We're talking about exercises for women who are just getting back into the swing of things with regard to implementing an exercise program. So, Lisa, I love what you just said. I want to reiterate here. So you teach, for example, a dance class, and it does a number of things that really caught my attention. Number one, you're bringing women together, taking them out of isolation, maybe from work, from being a mom at home. You're getting them out into the community. You're getting them interacting. You're getting them to be with women that are of like mind, maybe same basic physical fitness level. They're enjoying each other's company. They're getting fit together. They're enjoying themselves. So you have that wonderful social component that is very enjoyable. So they can kind of laugh together, and they maybe can disparage each other a little bit or themselves because, hey, look, here's where we are. I know we have a long way to go, but in other words, it brings them together to do something that ultimately will be wonderful at helping them become more fit and establish greater wellness.
Yes, absolutely. That's right. Yeah. And some people find that in golf. I know men and women alike find that, those communities, or tennis or things like that. I know for me in refit classes, which I've been teaching for a number of years, it has just been something that I've seen people stick with for long periods of time because there is that element of relationship that is fostered in there. So if you can find something in some place where that is actually fostered, and can I wrap back around to the support that we were talking about just a moment ago?
Of course, Lisa.
Okay. So again, I believe for me, the 3 foundations, absolute foundation, if you said what's the 3 most important things for health. For me, I have my own 5 wheels of wellness, and my bottom foundation is made up of sleep, stress management, and support. And when I say support, I think it's important to define what that means, because for some women, support can mean being around another group of women to commiserate with. That's actually not support. Support is not, yeah, that stinks and he's a jerk, right?
Right.
That's not support. Support is validation of your feelings where you are. That stinks, but you know what? What are we going to do together to get to the next, to move forward?
Yes.
That's support. And so I believe that's what this community of fitness class that I just got done talking about does, as well as my own program that I run online. That support is there. but it's so important for women to understand and distinguish what support is lifting up and raising up and helping you move forward. Yeah. It's not the opposite. So anyway, just having that in mind, it's not just any group of people. It's a group of people
like-minded
that help to move you forward and are like-minded.
And correct. I hope I didn't mislead. I just meant that when I'm at the gym often, you go through this period when you're getting back in shape, and we've all had it where maybe we got injured even. I've been training for many, many years. My dad tricked me into getting started exercising before I was in kindergarten. I was so fascinated by watching him work out. I said, Dad, teach me. And so we were doing sit-ups and push-ups and this and that. But nonetheless, I mean, there are times I broke my back in one period. I had severe tears, hamstrings and so forth. And so I had to come back, and it was actually very, very difficult to come back from a severe injury because, let's face it, when you're deconditioned, you can't do very much. And in some ways, it's as hard to come back when you are somebody who has trained or competed at a high level from an injury than somebody who just hasn't gotten started, because you have that comparison that here's where I was, here's where I am now. And that can be very difficult. So I hope I didn't mislead anybody. I just meant, in other words, when women get together, sometimes they can support each other, like, here's where we are, but here's where we're going.
Right.
And
absolutely.
So let's talk about some other things regarding exercise, Lisa. I know you're a big fan of strength, and I want to talk about that. But after that, I also want to go into what are some of the other key components. So let's start with strength. Why strength seems to be this very sexy thing now that over the last years is suddenly appropriate and cool and supported by trainers, physical therapists, and doctors for women. Talk about that.
So another thing that happens when women want to start working out, what is comfortable to them is what their bodies already naturally do, which is why there's a tendency to gravitate toward the treadmill or the stair climber, right? Because I can walk. That's a very familiar thing. I used to own a couple gyms. We were taught in our franchise, put the treadmills right at the very front, because when people walk in, everybody thinks I can walk on a treadmill.
Yes,
right?
Sure.
So there's a disconnect between what can improve your health, which certainly walking can, and what can actually rock your health, which is that strength training component that takes you to a completely different level.
Right.
And going back to the old thinking, which it's gotten so much better among women, but I still hear it. If I lift, I'm going to get bulky.
I know.
If I lift, I'm going to get big. I'm going to look like a guy. I'm going to look like a bodybuilder. Right.
Right.
So tearing down that old thinking is still something very much that physicians and health experts have to work to do with clients, so that they're not afraid to get in there and lift enough that they're actually changing their bodies.
Yes.
Women can also have it, and I keep saying women because that's who I'm
completely fine.
That's my people, right?
Got it.
So I'm called to, but where they'll, maybe 5-10 pound weights, and they're still lifting those same weights. 5-10 years later.
Yes.
And there's no real change. Well, your body is going to stop unless you continue to progress your workouts. And so that's really key for me in helping women understand wherever you are, even if it's this much forward, that much forward, your body has to now adapt to that. And then there's going to be changes. Well, then we need to go to the next step so that there continue to be changes. So strength is crucial to give women that lean muscle mass they want, to give them accelerated fat loss that they want, to give them good posture, bone density. Again, it can aid in sleep and digestion, and there's so many other aspects of it, like so many other aspects of fitness. So strength, I'm a huge advocate. I'm a fan, and I think the older we get, the more important it is.
I'm so happy to hear that you and I are so on the same page. I have to share a story with you. My older daughter is just extraordinarily brilliant. She's a lot of people know this. I've mentioned this before. She's working on her PhD. She started, I think, when she was 21, getting a PhD in basically biochemistry. But she was very introverted. And can we get that resolved, guys? And when I came, can we get this handled here, guys? So sorry, we have a technical difficulty. I'm going to keep talking. Can you see me and hear me okay, Lisa?
I can, yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. So when I brought my daughter into the weight room, she started to lift and she became a world champion. So one of the things that was very, very interesting is this extremely shy child suddenly became very, very confident as she started to grow and to gain strength. And it took her from somebody who had difficulty in many ways being out in public to becoming a world champion and having the confidence at 21 to go into a PhD program where she's studying something that may change the world with regard to neurodegenerative diseases. And it's so funny to have her go into a weight room and she's lifting 50 to 70 pound dumbbells for incline bench press reps.
Wow, amazing. That's a great
particularly when she weighs, 120, 125 pounds.
Right.
So she's a fierce little brilliant warrior.
Amazing.
Super. So let's go on and find out some other things that are very, very important. What other areas of fitness are very important to help guide women through, in addition to strength?
Activity, thermogenesis, NEAT,
Right.
NEAT activity. So again, it's easy to fall into, I'm going to go join an exercise class, or I'm going to go strength train or whatever for an hour a day, check it off my list, I'm done.
Right.
However, movement throughout the day, those micro movements are absolutely crucial. You've heard motion is lotion, and it's so true. Joints are going to move better through space.
Excellent.
If they are being worked throughout the day.
Right.
So we are very typically at a computer, hunched over,
Yes.
hip flexors all drawn up, back drawn up, shoulders drawn up. We're in this forward posture all day long. And then we go work out and we open everything up. And of course, that can lead to injury and all kinds of issues. But it's also not giving us the physical fitness that we're after.
Yeah.
To really get that health, that the energy, the all of those benefits that we've been talking about, again, sleep and having our joints move through a proper range of motion, reducing the risk of injury. We need to be moving throughout the day. So getting up out of your chair, working, standing up as much as possible, leaning side to side, bouncing on the balls of your feet. Doesn't have to be doing squats. It can just be moving around, walking. Standing is better sitting, walking is better than standing, just moving throughout the day. So for me, I'm really, really passionate about helping people understand that, because I am very guilty as well. I get focused on my work.
Yes.
And I get here, and before I know it, an hour has passed, and I go to get up and everything just feels tight and achy, and it just isn't right, because our bodies just weren't meant to sit for hours on end.
We become sedentary cave dwellers. Yeah.
Maybe under talked about in the health industry, but is so very crucial for us to understand.
Lisa, I want to talk about a couple more areas, because I think, you're specializing in 35 to 55. One of the things I see as women start to get even beyond that, and I know that's your scope, that age bracket, but I want to mention this because eventually the women who are in that category of 35 to 55 are going to, of course, age. One of the things I want to talk about, and I'm sure you do this as well, is support the notion that balance is very important. Flexibility is very, very important. So I want to talk about that for just a second, because we all know that when men and women get older, if they lose their balance and fall, fracture a hip, their life expectancy drops dramatically. So talk about that a little bit. I know when women are dancing, they're obviously working both of those. Speak to that, if you would, for me for a moment. The importance of that.
Yes, very good. And it's one of the reasons I do love any kind of dance fitness so much, is because of that, because you are on one foot a lot, right?
Yes.
So when we train, when we exercise, when we work out, there are so many times that we're doing that with both feet firmly planted on the floor. Yet when we tip over, when we fall, when we trip, we're almost never just standing in one place with both feet on the floor. So to train our bodies standing on one leg, or having just our weight even supported more on one leg, whether it's doing squats free of weights, or actually having some weights there, anything you can do to increase the balance that we need and that we lose as we age.
Right.
That's a way to train that just so many people don't think about. You just don't really think about, I need to train myself to balance even on one foot, because if I'm going to trip and fall, it's probably going to be when one foot is on the ground and one foot is off of the ground. When it comes to flexibility, very similarly, I I am so preaching this to myself because I'm not always the best about getting my stretch in, but I know how important it is. And I know everything on my body feels so much better when I do. So helping your joints move more freely through space or mobility, helping your body just to be able to squat down and stand back up without pulling your back or pulling the hamstring or being laid out in bed for 3 days. That can happen in your 30s as well as it can.
Yes, it can. I've had people in their 20s.
Absolutely. And so much of that can be because we're not working on the flexibility. We are hunched over all day long, and we're just not moving our bodies through space as effectively and as often as we need to.
Yeah, very, very good point. Lisa, we're going to take another commercial break. Folks, this is Health Matters. I'm Dr. Nelson Bulmash. My guest is Lisa of Lisa Lou Fitness. We'll be right back, and we'll continue our conversation in a moment.
Are you looking to catapult your business? Does your vision need an extra push to take you to the top? Or maybe you'd like to build your net worth? We welcome you to attend the Women of Wealth magazine's Billionaire Investor Roundtable Intensive, Saturday, July 13th and 14th in Fort Lauderdale Beach, Florida. Join successful investors, business people, and influencers for this exclusive roundtable. First, you'll be welcomed to the Investors Breakfast and Seminar, followed by the Billionaire Roundtable Luncheon on a yacht. What? Yes, you heard us right, a yacht. You'll then end your evening at the Private Investors Dinner at Hilton Resorts. Want to be a part of this amazing event? Visit www.womenofwealthmagazine.com and click on the Events tab. It's a roundtable you'll definitely want a seat in. What are you waiting for? Buy your pass now.
Welcome back. I'm Dr. Nelson Bulmash. My guest is Lisa of Lisa Lou Fitness. We're talking currently about exercises specifically to help women in the 35 to 55-year-old age range. Lisa, I want to hit on one more topic. What are some of your favorite exercises once a woman has established that she has at least a basic level of fitness and can begin to move on to perhaps more of an intermediate phase in her fitness?
I love walking, as I mentioned, because I think you can take walking from beginner level to intermediate level to even advanced level, especially if you're doing it in like an interval style and progressing your walking from there. I love that as well. I love the idea of anything that's going to add to flexibility. So once she is a little bit more fit, maybe in that intermediate stage, and she feels like she can get on the floor, and whether it's yoga or Pilates or something that's a little bit more gentle, yet still pushing the muscles.
Yes.
As I mentioned, I'm a huge fan of HIIT training for women, especially when it's more abbreviated, so that we are getting in, we're getting it done, we're hitting it hard in the right way for the right amount of time, and then allowing our body the proper amount of time to rest after, which is super key. Strength training, which can come through HIIT, but also resistance training through weights or bands. Anything where you are adding some kind of resistance to your body. So somebody who's intermediate, that could just mean squats with their body weight because maybe they're not quite ready to add weight. But once they are, once those, squats are becoming easy, they need to start adding some kind of resistance to continue to see that improvement. So strength training is huge. And again, I just have to wrap back around to whatever it is that's going to keep you going. And if that's that community aspect where you get that support as well, if we're solo and you're that kind of person that can do things solo and be so motivated for that, that's amazing. If you know for a fact you're not someone like that, find a group or a buddy or a group of, women who want to do something similar so that you can have that accountability and support as well.
Love it. Excellent. Excellent. What would you tell a woman who's getting into fitness, who realizes she really has a lot to do? In other words, she has that moment, as many have in my office, where I say, look, it's time. We've got to get you doing something. And I always get them started with walking. What I've found over and over again, get people to have as many wins as possible. And, provided somebody doesn't have a serious health problem, severe degenerative arthritis of a knee, an ankle, a foot, a back, or something that precludes that they can't do this, I started because, as you mentioned, it's the most natural fundamental movement that we can do. got to be able to walk, whether it be, to get food, to go to the bathroom, to go to work, et cetera, et cetera. So what do you tell women to keep them inspired, to keep them looking forward, who are struggling to do that and want to do it, but are struggling, and who want to get to that next phase? What kind of conversations do you have with those women?
Mm-hmm. So I do like to ask them, what is your personality and your temperament like? Are you someone who is motivated and goal-oriented in the aspect of working out completely on your own? Or do you need people to work out with? I think that really is very key, because sometimes we shove ourselves into a box that we don't belong in. And so
Good point.
If I'm a really outgoing person, but I'm home doing workouts only, and I'm struggling to continue to do those workouts, now it's time that I look at that and say, maybe it's time to be in some kind of group environment, or invite people over to do it with me. Right.
Right.
So I think so much of it just comes down to, who are you? What motivates you? What kind of drive do you have? And there is nothing wrong with totally being able to do it on your own. And there's nothing wrong with feeling like you need a group of people to do it with. So just knowing who you are, knowing what drives you is going to be key. Can I wrap back around to something else we mentioned a minute ago?
Please do.
Okay, so when we were talking about how to get the family on board, I wanted to mention the kids as far as how you can maybe get them on board. So ideally, husband and wife are on the exact same page. They're going the same direction. They're gung-ho, and then everything kind of flows downhill from there. That's ideal, best case scenario. What if your kids are super resistant, whether the husband's on board or not? What if your kids are just super resistant? Okay.
Yeah. I have to tell you, I'm laughing because my son and my older daughter saw me work out and went, "Dad, I'm there." From a very, very young age. My youngest daughter looked at me and said, "Yeah, not happening, Dad." And now she's 18. I think over the last year, she's finally jumped on the bandwagon. So all members of the family are working out. She looks amazing. She's fallen in love with it. And of course, all of us are kind of like going, well, better late than never. But you love it so much. Why didn't you get involved with us years ago? Go ahead.
Yeah. So good. So there are those resistant kids. When they're littler, it's easier, right? Because you give them what they get. When they get to be those mid and older teenage years, that can be really tough. Even younger teenage years can be really tough. At that point, they may be fixing their own food, or at least they can go rummage through the refrigerator.
Yes.
So what I encourage women to do is get the kids, give them some control, meaning, let's say we're looking at our menu for the week. So I'm a woman, I'm starting my health journey. I want to bring my family with me. We're all going to sit down at the beginning of the week. We're going to look at the food that we're going to eat during the week, and get your kids involved in what some of those choices can be. Give them some different choices. Give them some choices on what it can be. And here's the other key thing. Reward them for doing well throughout the week, but not with food.
Oh, I love that. Talk about that for a second. That's so important. Thank you, Lisa. I so appreciate you bringing that to my attention.
Yeah,
talk about that.
Okay. So I know that there was a big tendency for me early on with my kids to say, oh, I'm so sorry that happened. Let's go get ice cream.
Yes.
Oh, you rocked that test. Let's go get pizza.
Right.
We tend to pad our celebrations and our downfalls with food.
Yes.
And it's usually not broccoli and chicken breast.
Yeah.
Not that that's all you can have for healthy food, but it's so if you can try to step away, think to yourself, are you an emotional eater? If so, why? Were you comforted with food growing up? Are you still comforting with food? And are you passing that along to your kids?
Excellent.
Because if so, that's a pattern that's probably going to continue with their kids.
And it sets the very destruction of their lives. And people don't want to look and get that. I've heard it said many times that you establish your eating tendencies by the time you're 7 years of age.
Wow.
So, Lisa, if you're rewarding, think about that. You nailed it. If you're rewarding kids negatively, meaning giving them bad choices that will ultimately take them down a path of increased risk of diabetes, heart attack, strokes, cancer, it's absurd and it's wrong, and we need to collectively work to change that. I love that you brought that to our attention. It's fantastic.
Absolutely. And you know what? You set the pace. You're the parent. You get to set the pace. So instead of saying, we'll go out for ice cream if you eat great every day this week, say, let's go see a movie, or let's go, we'll buy you your favorite game, or I don't know. It doesn't always have to be food related, but, go to the park depending on their age. If they're a little bit older, I'll take you and your friends,
right.
To go do whatever. But so try and think ahead of time. And that's hard sometimes on the spot. So maybe just jot down some ideas. What motivates my kids? What do they love to do that maybe we don't have a lot of time for, or maybe I'm just like, later. Make that a priority to help motivate and inspire them, and to help move them away from that connection of reward and food going hand in hand.
Or at least junk food.
Junk food. That's reward and junk food going hand in hand.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, one of the things that we do, I'll share two really neat things that we did, Lisa. One is that we take our kids out for a healthy meal. Like, oh, you love that restaurant? Okay, we're going to get a healthy meal to reward ourselves for how well you did, in your test or your report or your oratorical competition. Another thing we did, Lisa, I think you'll like this. When Halloween came, I really struggle with Halloween because it's a holiday that doesn't benefit anybody but the people who make candy and who sell candy and so forth. And it gets our kids into bad habits. It's hard to break. So I think it was my wife that came up with this. What we did is we said, hey, listen, we talked to the Candy Fairy last night, and she had an interesting offer. If you guys want to hear it. Really, Dad? Of course. What do you mean, really? Yes. What is it, Dad? Well, she said that if you you can have 3 pieces of Halloween candy, and if you put the rest out on the porch, she'll take the candy and give you a gift. Now, this may sound boring, but what we did is we gave their favorite movies, or we gave books that they wanted to read, depending on what their personality type wanted to be rewarded with. And every single year, the candy went out on the porch, and they got books, and they got their favorite movies, and it worked 100% of the time.
That is so great. I've got another tip when it comes to inspiring the kids as well. And that is, again, depending on their ages, but let them have a contest. If you just have one child, maybe it's a contest with mom and dad. If there's siblings, let them have a contest together on who can put together the yummiest, healthiest meal.
I love it.
And so you're teaching them, you're encouraging some truly healthy competition there. And so here's a story of my own. So my youngest daughter is 12 years old, and we have a neighbor that she likes to play with, and he's also 12 years old. And he came in the other day, and my 12-year-old is just a rule follower, and she loves to eat healthy because she knows it's the right thing to do. That's how she's made.
Sure.
So our neighbor kid comes over the other day, and he says, Miss Lisa, I've decided I want to be a chef. And I said, you did? Well, why don't you and Layla? No, I'm wrong. He said, can me and Layla make you something? Oh, I wasn't hating that. They wanted to make me dinner.
Oh, I love it.
I said, go in the kitchen and figure it out. Now, I had to talk them through thawing the chicken and how long to cook the chicken. They made me the most incredible salad full of vegetables I would not have thought to put in my salad because I get into a rut. I'm actually doing a Facebook Live tomorrow with them on it, showing their salad.
I love it.
Because they came up with this on their own. They seasoned it on their own. It truly was absolutely delicious.
Right.
And they are so inspired. Not only can they not wait to do that tomorrow, but they can't wait to make their next healthy dish.
Wonderful.
So
wonderful story.
That's just something that we can do to encourage, our kids to jump on board and have some control.
Well, Lisa, it's been an absolute pleasure. We're down to our last 60 seconds. I have what we call now final thoughts.
Okay.
Before we tell everybody how to get a hold of you, what are your final thoughts for today's episode? What do you want to share with people?
Have been given a very heavy, weighty responsibility, and that is to either be the matriarch of your family, to be a friend, to be a sister, to be a daughter, whatever your role is, it's just weighty. It's important for you to be the best servant that you can. And I know you want to be, because that's how we were designed. It's important for you to put your health on the front burner. It's not being selfish. It's the opposite of being selfish. It's the most selfless thing you can do is to make your health a priority. So I would encourage you to find a way to make that happen.
Excellent. So lastly, how can everybody reach out to you? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so you can reach me. My website is lisaluefitness.com. You can find me on Facebook, Lisa Lou Fitness, on Instagram at Lisa Lou Fitness. So really, if you type in Lisa Lou Fitness, you're probably going to find me.
Excellent. Very, very good. Lisa, it has been a pleasure. I hope you can hang on for 1 second as I close out the show. Give me 1 sec. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dr. Nelson Bulmash. This is Health Matters that you've been listening to. I will be back, of course, in 2 weeks for another great episode. Please join me. For all those of you that watched, I thank you very, very much. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful week. Eat well, be blessed, and take great care of yourself. Dr. Nelson Bulmash, signing out.
Thank you for joining us on this edition of Health Matters with Dr. Nelson Bulmash, where we help you discover how to ignite your mind, body, and spirit connection. Join us next time when we will bring you more exciting guests and engaging topics. Meanwhile, feed your mind, exercise your body, and nurture your spirit. The United Intentions Foundation and its associates take no responsibility for the opinions and statements made by the talk show hosts or their guests.